Here he is at our I&M studio, and Professor Alfred Omenya, who's joining us live via Zoom. We're taking a look at the political dynamics of the day. And last but not least, Honorable Mwaniki, I'd like to get your view on this issue of the Deputy President. Now it's headed to Parliament. Deputy President's allies demand and are summoning top civil servants to explain the changes that happened. Of course, politically speaking, the ripple effects have already happened, and some assert that this is even making the Deputy President popular. He's taken it in a light way. We had the Nakuru senator telling the DCI to summon Central Organization of Trade Union boss Francis Atwoli on the same, and so much is happening. Of course, Cherargei says he has written to the Speaker to summon police boss, head of public service and other officials. How do you view this playing out? Do you think there shall be a reversal of that order that was made, and do you think, or what do you predict will happen as far as these official capacities are concerned?
First of all, I want to disagree with the Prof that Ruto is sort of like becoming the new Raila. If you look at Ruto's politics, he has never played a crybaby or a victim. Even from the time he coined the name Tanga Tanga, he said, mimi ni mtu wa mkono wa rais. He has insisted he's a hustler. That's his selling point. If he makes a mistake of playing victim with this issue of security, it will actually dilute his candidature, because then it means the hustlers will start asking, so it means you're actually worried about being protected by this government as opposed to us, and you're telling us you're one of us. Now, the way I look at it is that, and I said earlier that Ruto killed the debate yesterday in Nakuru. He said, you know what, let's just forget about this thing. Even G4S is enough for me, because I am with Hustler and God, or I'm with God and the people. And that is where he wants to remain as the candidate who says that, look, I am your best friend in terms of taking you to the next level. Now, I would say, of course, that remember, Ruto is still in government. So don't rule out that IG and his team, they also can pull such a move to be able to propel Ruto better. I mean, ahead of Raila and the other camp. But I don't think where matters stand now, DP needs such kind of state harassment to be made popular. He is already more popular without state harassment, and he would like to remain it that way. That's why I keep saying this debate in the parliament about, summoning who, summoning that, is actually not relevant. It actually might even hurt DP's position. The way I see it, and this is my issue, is that we should be asking ourselves what happens when DP picks a running mate. Because that's when the whole thing now will go different. Because remember, all indications are if DP doesn't pick a running mate from Mount Kenya, then you have the Mount Kenya vote may start, may pull out. But the question is, what happens to the rest of the country? So the way I look at it is that if I were to advise William, I would tell him, don't get distracted with this issue of security. Focus on selling your agenda. As it remains right now, the candidates who are oscillating around or trying to say that they are vying for presidency, it's only William who has an agenda. The bottom-up economy, whether you like it or not, the point is he has found a theme. He's riding on that theme. The other candidates are not even talking about it. They're just talking about, finding fault in William, finding fault in Jubilee. Instead of saying, for my president or my administration, this is the theme that we are going to ride on. And this is what needs to change in the next couple of weeks, very quickly. The Kalonzos, the Musalias, and the Laidas, and the rest, and the Jimmies, you must now come back and say, what are you selling to Kenyans? It is not an issue of saying William is bad, William is that, Uhuru is this, Uhuru is that. That will not earn you votes. And remember, ODM has another issue. It has gone back to raising the issues of IBC. And you see, it's being told, even if you became the IBC yourself, IBC doesn't have votes. IBC only does tallying of votes. The votes are with the voters. Now, the other dynamic is that we have over 6 million young voters who have come on fold. Who is going for the 6 million voters? When you look at the teams that are selling or they are moving around with these politicians, are there new faces? or are we seeing the old faces that are, rebranding themselves from one camp to the other? And finally, I think that I don't remember Raila saying he's a candidate yet. And I keep saying here that Raila is headed for a Raila Tosha moment, another one. Because even him, he can see the numbers. And like we started with this show by saying SK comment about the ground is not with you is actually a wake-up call. So to conclude this issue of security of Ruto, it's a non-issue. In my opinion, it should remain a non-issue. The DP himself put it very well. It's a non-issue. His handlers should be careful not to bring it back and lose momentum on the issue of hustler. William Ruto had started a very good conversation before this security debacle happened about go out there and get this vaccine for COVID so that the economy can resume, so that hustlers can go back to toiling 24/7. He should stick on that line of encouraging people to get out, government to provide vaccine, economy to reopen. Forget about this issue of security. Too much of it may also become another fodder for your competitors to come and saying, look, you call yourself a hustler, but you're still keen on government, the same government that you are saying is for the other side, as opposed to being for the mwananchi. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned something that I'd like to double down on. Your prediction, what would be ideal for the Deputy President in terms of a pick, aside from the an obvious central Kenya candidate? What else what would you foresee as a pick by the Deputy President for a running mate, that is?
I think the issue of a running mate for a Deputy President, considering how William himself has been treated by Uhuru, should be very carefully thought. Now, of course, one, you have to look at the numbers. What is the candidate giving you? Is it numbers? Is it skill set? Is it the regional representation? So there's a bit of dynamics to deal with. But any pick, even in Mount Kenya, even today, there will be a fallout. Because if you look at the Kekas, the Rashaguas, Moses Kuria, the Kinjoris, and the rest, they are all trying to elbow each other to catch the DP's eye. I would pull a surprise and get a candidate who is outside Mount Kenya, so that then I don't lose all my friends in Mount Kenya. All of you are my friends. I can't pick one and leave the other. So all of you come in and we rally behind these other candidates, maybe from Ukambani or from Western. It doesn't have to be. It could even be better off pull a surprise from Nyanza. So I think the DP needs to ask himself, how can I hold this Mount Kenya block without having a fallout? Is it by actually going for one of them? Can they agree, or is actually going for somebody outside Mount Kenya and therefore remain with Mount Kenya, but saying all of us, no one is more equal than the other, so we are all equal to the DP, and therefore let's now come in and form a coalition as Mount Kenya, or even more so go to Coast and pick on Kingi, for instance, and put a surprise on the Kingi voters, like we were earlier saying about Joho's influence in Coast. So there are a number of parameters to look at, number of options. He can still settle on Mount Kenya. Mount Kenya feels entitled that, look, we'll make you the president. Therefore, but I don't think for Mount Kenya being a running mate is all that there is. There is more into it in terms of what is it our share in government that you're giving us. And then the same thing, they're saying to the next candidate, what is our share in government? Whoever has the best deal for Mount Kenya, they rally behind him without necessarily looking at you are number two or you are number this in your administration.
Okay. Now, Mr. Kioko, that prediction, do you have one for the Deputy President?
First, allow me to go back on the security conversation,
yes,
just for a minute. When we're talking about the security issue, it is not about the security issue of Ruto, the person. It is a security arrangement of the office of the Deputy President, as provided by law in the Security Act.
Yeah.
So it's about that office that we are talking about. And that office should not be demeaned in the manner in which it is being demeaned. Today, you would ask yourself, if at your home, the sentry at the gate is G4S, and the sentry in your compound who's guarding you is Lavington Security, for that matter. Sorry if I'm not propagating either one of them. But these are two different security formations guarding one individual or one institution. The level of confusion and the chain of command within that setup is such that it can harm the office of the deputy of the president. So yes, it is nice for Ruto to scuttle it, but we need to honestly have a conversation on the institutions that have been created by the Constitution.
What you're saying is that it transcends politics.
Ruto. We're just setting a bad example for another president to come and use these security laws as a way of harassing the office of the deputy president. Now that must be condemned by all. It's not about Ruto the person.
Yes.
Secondly, when you look at this machination, so that I can go back to the question, when you look at all these machinations that are happening in this person of the office of the deputy president, these were two great friends, Uhuru and Ruto. They came to this look together, white shirts, red ties, all those lovey-dovey issues.
Yes.
5 years down the lane, the divorce is so acrimonious that Ruto can't fly to Uganda, that Ruto security, so that Uhuru has successfully demeaned that office of the deputy president until you ask yourself, will Kalonzo accept to be Raila's running mate? If Uhuru can do this to Ruto, what would Raila do to Mudavadi? Or what would a presidency of Raila do to a deputy president of Kalonzo? So that one of the things I believe by all these actions, if you're able to look at them sequentially, you can draw a conclusion that one, the office of the deputy president is being demeaned so that it does not become a prized catch as you come to 2022. It also means that people have seen that you may not necessarily be the deputy president, you might be an outsider and still wield more power and influence on account of parliamentary numbers, on account of regional support. That which Raila Odinga has been able to show. He is not in government, yet his friends are getting appointments, yet his region is getting rewarded, and is able to influence the ear of the president to frustrate the deputy president, therefore demeaning that office. So now when it comes to the question of running mates, two things happen, and we must congratulate Uhuru in this thing. President Uhuru has been able to ensure that any political formation that will come up, the running mate will be from Central Province. He has brought that agenda very close home to Raila Odinga. And Raila Odinga is accepting, if I do not have a running mate from Central Province, then all these votes of Central Province will go with Ruto. Ruto on his side knows, if I do not have a running mate from Central Province, then there's a high possibility that these votes go with Raila Amolo Odinga. The same thing will happen to Kalonzo, the same thing will happen to Mudavadi. So that when the people go to vote, they will have an equal opportunity chance of saying, whoever we vote, we as people of Central Province are in government. That people, we must give Uhuru a big hands up on it. He has managed to successfully ensure that in the next political conversation, Central Province and the Mount Kenya region will be the next, they'll be running mates for all the four or for all the three political formations that are running up.
Okay. Now, as we draw towards the end of the conversation, let's take a look at this angle of the politics of the country. Muslim leaders are now asking President Uhuru Kenyatta and the Deputy President, William Ruto, to embrace dialogue for the sake of the country. The leaders from the National Muslim Leaders Forum have called on the two leaders to give Kenyans a break and think of ways of fostering unity.
The public is being treated to a public display of utter hostility between the head of state and his deputy. Something unseen or in a magnitude never witnessed before in our country, which is a recipe to divide our people. These offices are bestowed with great honor by our Constitution and trust by the people of Kenya and should not be demeaned. We therefore call on President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto to give Kenyans a break. Kenyans gave you the mandate to govern on the basis of our Constitution and laws. That mandate came with the clear responsibilities and expectations. The presidency is the greatest symbol of national unity and is a dignified office. Today, we particularly wish to ask the President to demonstrate statesmanship befitting the dignity, esteem, and honor of that high office of the President of the Republic of Kenya. We ask the President, in his last term, to unite the country. The best legacy to Kenyans for him will not be who he will endorse as the next president, but whether we shall have a peaceful transition.
All right. Now, that is a statement that comes hot on the heels of yet another one that was from the Christian clergy that actually called for a similar thing, unity, because the example that is being set, the atmosphere that's being set by the two leaders is not ideal according to these religious leaders. Now, we earlier on had criticism of the use of the pulpits as a platform, but then these are indeed tricky times, and some of these leaders have been at a loss at how to hold some of these gatherings. Now, I'd like Mr. Gulade to weigh in on this. What's your reaction to that call, and is it realistic given all that has happened?
I think that's a very timely call. I want to congratulate the religious leaders for. I think the clergy has really been absent in all this conversation about the position we are in today. We are headed towards a general election. And in Kenya, we know what it means when passions are inflamed,
yes,
the way they are today. So I'll really maybe urge the president, just, taking an example from what Sheikh Abdullah Abdi there just mentioned, to reach out. He is the symbol of unity for this country. Ideally, he should be, dealing with all his people in the same way. If it was a matter of inclusivity, as was envisaged in the BBI, it will also be very important to bring on board people like the Deputy President, not to cast him away. And the President should be an arbiter, not somebody taking sides. He should be in between these people, just to ensure that we have a peaceful transition. We have a country. After all, in the end, peace is very important for this country. If we don't maintain peace, we have learned a very, very important lesson from the events of 2007, 2008. And remember, right now, it may just appear to be simple. You've demeaned the Deputy President, this has happened here. But soon, this will turn into an ethnic division, and may it even lead to conflict. We can't rule out that. So I think I really want to agree with the clergy on this. And on maybe the earlier question you raised, my suggestions on Deputy President. I think, I had some of the Deputy President's, allies in Central Kenya actually saying, it is not really important if the future Deputy President will be from Central Kenya. We are not so interested in that. We are more interested in getting a good stake in the government. That's more important for us. So I think, in as much as it's a very challenging situation for the Deputy President, it could also be an opportunity for him to reach out also to the other regions of this country, to divert away from the monotony of Central Kenya, Rift Valley, keeping on, coming back into the top leadership, at least for once.
Why don't we make this more interesting by naming names? Who would you ideally see as a possible, running mate for the Deputy President?
Yeah, I think the Deputy President can go for somebody like Mudavadi. It's a very rich vote region. The Luhya nation is almost as popular as Central Kenya.
Yeah.
So this is a game he could easily play with, and while he keeps maybe a large tract, of course there will be a fallout. There's no doubt that this will have given him an edge.
Yeah.
It will have easily solidified Central Western Kenya, the Rift Valley, which already is within his
and they do have similar, what is it called, ideologies. It's all about the economy.
Yeah.
Musalia Mudavadi speaks about an economic blueprint. We have, the Deputy President talking all about the economy and, lifting up those who are on the ground, the downtrodden, and making sure that the government works for them. Yeah. So could this play in his favor?
Yeah, I think, just like Kyoko earlier on said, here the ideology factor is not really important, I think, in Kenya. We have not really
Eventually,
had that. Yeah. Ideally, actually, when we even raise these discussions, once people go into office, they are forgotten as quickly as they come to office. So, unfortunately, that's where we are.
Yeah. Professor Omenya, what's your take on this? The religious leaders are coming out strong, calling for unity. Behavior from both the Deputy President and Uhuru Kenyatta, the Deputy President William Ruto and the President Uhuru Kenyatta, is not fostering an atmosphere of unity, and they're calling for that, and so that they can inspire unity among the people. What do you make of that? And of course, if you want, give us your prediction of a possible running mate for the Deputy President.
I fully agree. I think despite the political temperatures, issues around campaigns and so on, I think all average leaders, let me not say great leaders, all average leaders, especially when they're leaving office, one of the things that they would really like to do is to ensure that there is that unity, that they're living behind a united nation. It doesn't matter whether it's the opposition that wins or your friends will win or whatever it is. At the end of the day, is the electorate who will make a decision on who becomes the next president of the republic. And I think it is important for Uhuru to be a statesman and be above this hullabaloo of individual contestation in politics. I think that's very, very important for us as a nation. And it is important for Uhuru to realize that he is the president of the Republic of Kenya, and he has a bigger responsibility to the nation beyond political competitions and competitiveness and so on. He is very well placed to do that, because in a way he is the only candidate that, the individual that in a way owes everybody something small. He owes Raila something small, he owes something small and so on. And if I was his advisor, this would be an excellent platform for him to elevate himself beyond these different individuals who are contesting political power, and actually focus on national unity rather than individual contestations of power as it actually were. Having said that, we have the issue of the running mate, and here I would really like to disagree. We know how Kenyan politics is organized. To disagree with Blade on this particular matter. I think if any of the candidates make a mistake of not picking a running mate from central Kenya, they're dead in the woods. This is the point that, yes, I mean, you can give a region of this country as much position in government, as much power in government as you want, but ultimately what Kenyans look for, and that's very, very easy to sell, are actually positions. And that's partly why Raila was pushing for BBI, so that there were 5, 6 or so top positions that he could distribute around. Currently, there's only one position that can be distributed around, and that's the vice presidency. If William Ruto picks Musalia Mudavadi, that is it. Raila would and Raila picks a Kikuyu or anybody from central Kenya, Raila will go with that vote basket. For the electorate will not want to know how the nitty-gritty of reorganizing government and planning and positions that your region will get. They're not interested in those things. They're interested in the actual pole position of power. So as far as I'm concerned, William Ruto has no choice. William Ruto must actually pick a running mate from central Kenya, and then convince the other regions that they're part of that they can be part of government. That is the only way of securing that vote. And Raila Odinga also has no choice. Immediately picks a candidate from anywhere else. It will be impossible for him to sell his rather difficult candidature already in central Kenya without a running mate from that region. And anybody who does not pick a running mate from central Kenya might as well forget about that vote. That would be a very, very easy position to defeat politically. All these nitty-gritty, they work out in reality. We know that you can actually organize government, even give 50% of government to a region without necessarily giving them the position. But what everybody is looking at now is the presidency and the vice president. And we're saying the presidency is more or less decided amongst a few individuals who've already declared their candidature or are de facto candidates. The next thing people are looking at is the deputy president. And it would be very, very naive of any of the players to imagine that they'll be able to still get the vote in Central Kenya without actually having a Central Kenya running it. And as far as I'm concerned, in fact, this is the only place where we'll have some fresh names. I don't think whatever is would serve anybody well as a running mate, or even people like Alonso Musyoka, the oldies. I don't think they add any value. And as far as I'm concerned, and I can say that boldly, the DP must come from Central if the presidential candidate is serious about winning the presidency. Back to you.
A divergent issue from what Honorable Mwaniki said earlier on. Honorable Mwaniki, your reaction as well as what do you make of the call for unity from religious leaders?
Thank you. I was actually going to say that, you see, I actually do pray for this country that the religious leaders can stand out as the voice of reason. Unfortunately, and it's very sad, that the places of worship have been converted, like we had earlier said, to political platforms or political podiums. I think then that in itself begs the question to whether can the religious leaders call for unity be heeded by the same politicians who go every other day to their places of worship, disregard all protocol, disregard the sanctity of the house, and start hurling insults and barbs to their competitors. I think there's a need for us to reflect. If the religious leaders want to be a voice of, call for unity, calm the country, talk about peace, the Interreligious Council then must come back and say, this is the new normal. No politics in church, no politics in places of worship, in the mosque, and anywhere else. And I think until that is cemented clearly, then it will just remain as mere talk. Because I can't come to your place of worship today, you give me a platform to insult my competitor, donate money at the end of those insults, then you come and tell me on a Monday that we need to have unity. But I think there's a constitutional issue here that I want us to reflect next time. If you have a deputy president who disagrees with the president, how do we solve that problem? Because today is William Ruto and Uhuru Kenyatta. Tomorrow it will be either William Ruto and I don't know his running mate, or it will be Raila and his deputy president. So we must cure this issue. And there's been the question of you asking William Ruto to resign. He has said, I won't resign because I was duly elected, and therefore you have no business lecturing me to resign. Fine. You don't agree with your president. So where does that leave the country? Same case. If tomorrow we have another replay of this scenario, what happens for another 10 years or 5 years? So I think as a country, we must ask the constitutional question as to whether what do you do when the presidency stops speaking from a sink? Is there a way you can actually, the president can actually remove the deputy president and get someone else they'll work with? And by the way, this is the same problem we have even in the counties, where governors and deputy governors would disagree. They subject the citizen of that county to squabbles after squabbles. We saw the other day in Vihiga, we saw the other day in Kirinyaga, we saw the other day in any other counties. So I think we must ask ourselves, these constitutional issues that exist today, going forward, we need to resolve them. I'm not advocating for the president waking up and deciding to fire the deputy president, but maybe the question is, how do you cure a scenario where the two of them cannot agree? And the same in the counties, what do you cure the two of them cannot agree? I think then, finally, I think the issue of running mate, I hear that what you're saying, that Central Kenya must be the DP in whatever way, whichever camp there is. But I think there is more to it than just being a DP. And the quarter has shown is that the reason why William Ruto is so strong today is because when he agreed to support Uhuru Kenyatta as a running mate, he didn't just say the running mate position. He asked for 50% of the government. And I think that's the conversation. The question is, if you have another carriage in Kikuyu, 50% government shared, as you had Kikuyu carriage in 50% government shared, what happens to the rest of the country? And that probably brings us to the issue of who are these other presidential candidates we are not discussing. We have Mutua, we have Jimmy Wanjigi, we have, I think, even William Kabogo at some point, I can't remember clearly. do we actually have a place for a third force where it is not Rift Valley Central government, it is the rest of the Kenya. So I think there's something there that we need to also look at. And I would advise Musalia, if he's serious, then not to look at Central, to look at the rest of the country. But like you say, Professor says there that, and as Kyoko said, that one thing that Uhuru Kenyatta has succeeded is making sure that whoever forms government next season, Central Kenya must be